little tiny bit different. We're going to look at the top 10 scariest roller coasters in the world for 2024. Now, this is the opinion of Coaster Dash. I will link him in the description below if you want to go check him out. And yeah, let's get into it. Before we begin, let me just say, I used to be fearless. I would ride anything. And then years ago, when I was in my 20s, I rode the Anaconda in King's Dominion in Virginia, and I got off with an instant migraine. Like, I've never had anything like that happen before. And after I went to the doctors, when we got back, they found out I had bone spurs in my neck caused from some kind of neck injury, and it was just pummeling my neck around in there. So I'm pretty sure I got my injury. So now I have lifelong headaches and muscle spasms and pain. So this is just a little precaution warning before you go on something, like, for you to realize that you could get hurt. I mean, it's fun. I love roller coasters. You won't get hurt probably, but you could. So let's see what he has to say. See if we've rode any of them. If you have, let me know in the comments. Let's start.
As a roller coaster enthusiast, it's rare that I get freaked out while riding a big roller coaster, but it does happen and there's a variety of reasons why. So in this video, I want to count down the 10 scariest roller coasters I've ridden, and not because they're dangerous or unsafe, but because there's a factor that keeps me on the edge of my seat. Honestly, some of the rides I'm most afraid of are ones that are very rough and unpleasant experiences, but I feel like that's a pretty cheap way out of this list. Besides, if you want to hear about my 10 least favorite roller coasters I've ridden, that was released pretty recently. Most would then assume that the coasters on this list are just incredibly tall, and while that accentuates the rankings for some of these rides, I found that once I rode a couple hypercoasters or roller coasters above 200 feet tall for the first time, I got used to those heights and that no longer fazed me anymore. It really takes a unique type of attraction to scare me, something I'm not used to. And you'll notice that with a lot of these rides, you're kind of being forced to stare at an element before actually experiencing it, so that's why there's some powerful launches that really get me sometimes. Spoiler alert for some of the rides on this list. But I also want to add that with modern technology, roller coaster innovation is being pushed to the limits never thought to be possible, so this list will continuously change over time. Something I definitely keep your eyes on is Falcon's Flight at Six Flags Qiddiya, which is set to be the tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster when it opens in the next few years. I know I said I wasn't scared of heights, but the next tallest coaster to this is like 150 feet shorter, so this is really going to be unlike any other ride in the world, and version way on the other side of the parking lot. When the general public visiting that park figures out...
I just want to say, that looks cool. I like wooden roller coasters. I always preferred them. I think one of my favorite wooden roller coasters I've ever been on was at Kennywood in Pennsylvania, and it's called the Thunderbolt. And it's old, and it starts off by dropping down into a valley. There's no lift hill at the beginning. There's one later, but when you start, you just drop down out of the valley. It's awesome.
You have to go beneath the parking lot. It has to be a lot to handle. Last one I'll mention before we get things started, Red Force at Ferrari Land likely would have made this list, except you begin accelerating to extreme speeds before you really have time to process it. It's not like similar rides that make you sit on that launch section and stare up at the rest of the layout before sending you on your way. Alright, now, these are the 10 scariest roller coasters I've ever ridden. Let's jump in. Number 10, Cobra at Connieland. Switzerland's only large-scale roller coaster is one that's become pretty famous around the world because of its one-of-a-kind element known as a scorpion tail. This is essentially an inclined spike that hangs you upside down for multiple seconds, and if you're sitting in the front row, you are taken to the very end of that section of track. Not to mention...
Wait, I have never seen one like that. That looks crazy. I would have rode that. Like, after the whole Anaconda debacle, I went on another roller coaster a year or two later at Kennywood Park, and I had a panic attack. I think I was just so worried that something was going to happen because of my neck, and I can't do it anymore. Maybe I'm just too old. Maybe I'm just too anxious now in my age. I don't know, but when you're younger, you have no fear. So I rode everything. So let's see. This ride that he's showing right now looks terrifying.
I was surprised by how shaky it was, so when my brain put that together with the already freaky looking scorpion tail, I definitely got a little bit of a pit in my stomach. And maybe I was right to be a bit scared of this attraction because it is to this day the only roller coaster I've ridden where I got lightheaded after getting off.
Oh.
At the number 9 spot is a very unique example of a scary roller coaster, and that's the Axis prototype at SNS Worldwide's facility in Utah. This one makes the list for what should already be pretty obvious reasons. It's a prototype attraction. They build these things so they can see if there will be any issues with a full-size version. Before riding, I was already feeling a bit iffy about signing a waiver that states that SNS is not responsible for any injury or death. But in actuality, it was exceedingly unlikely that anything was ever going to happen. It was more the thought that puts this one on this list. But I'll tell you what, riding Axis was an experience I will never forget.
That looks insane. Like, it's not enough that you're going up and down the hills. Let's friggin' spin you around while we're at it. To some people, that would be a dream. To me now, no. But when I was young, yeah.
Number 8, Max Force at Six Flags Great America. This is a coaster I got to ride for the first time this year, and I was surprised by how nervous I got waiting for this thing to launch. I don't usually get worked up over launches unless there's something about them particularly crazy, and in Max Force's case, it features the fastest acceleration of any launch in the country, and one of the quickest accelerations in the world. I'd been watching this ride take off to 78 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds for quite a while waiting for the front row, and I think that had to have fueled my nervousness a lot because my heart started pounding before taking off on that launch track. What an awesome moment, one where a little bit of fear made it all the more exciting. Number 7, Vekoma Giant Inverted Boomerang Coasters. This super
fear made it more exciting. That's so funny to me. I don't want to be scared. Like, you'll never see me skydiving or bungee jumping because to me, I would be so scared. Like, I wouldn't enjoy it. I would probably have a heart attack. That's the thing with these rides. Like, you watch them before you get on, and the level of fear builds and builds. And I just don't enjoy that. I don't. But I love watching it. I love seeing it. I'll go to the amusement park and I'll watch, like, and think, man, if I were younger, I would have rode that, but...
Rare coaster models always looked intimidating since the first day I laid my eyes on one. I've now ridden 2 of them, Aftershock at Silverwood in Idaho and Stuntfall at Parque Warner Madrid in Spain. And no matter where I experience it, I'm definitely on edge climbing up those lift hills. Particularly the first one because your entire weight is being held up by this restraint as you climb up 177 feet vertically backwards. And if that wasn't enough, when the ride's getting ready to end, it has to catch you on this same lift, meaning you end up facing down at the ground a second time in the same experience. But these elements are part of what makes these coasters so unique, which is why I absolutely love getting on them whenever I can.
Yeah,
Number 6,
cool.
Mauer Skyloop coasters. I don't think enough people talk about how absolutely ridiculous these rides are. You go up vertically 150 feet, but unlike literally any other roller coaster, the lift hill continues upside down.
I have built these on amusement park games. I have built these many, many times. Okay. I don't know if I would want to ride it. Just keep doing that.
So you were just hanging there so far up in the sky and there's nothing you can do about it. If that wasn't enough, you were then thrown into this row also very high in the air. It's rare that you have inversions that are this tall, but it's another thing when the inversions literally hang you several seconds over a sheer drop to the ground. I've ridden 3 of these things now, one in Germany, one in Spain, and one in Finland, and each time I literally could not move at the top. If you're in America and you'd like to ride one of these, your best bet is to head to Magic Springs in Arkansas, which I actually haven't ridden yet, but hope to do at some point in the near future. Number 5, Der Cannon at Hansa Park. This one pretty much speaks for itself. You have this enormous 239-foot tower and you'll never believe what's on the inside of it. A vertical twisting drop in complete darkness. It looks absolutely horrifying from off-ride, but it's also kind of ridiculous when you're riding it. If you want to keep yourself from any potential spoilers, skip ahead to the next spot on this list. But something else completely demented happens inside of that tower. While you're on a vertical lift hill and you have all this intense music building up, you are dropped down the lift, falling backwards for nearly 200 feet. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced, and I'd be nervous to ride it again even though I already know what it feels like. But it all contributes to Der Cannon being Germany's best roller coaster and one of my absolute favorites in Europe. Number 4, Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Can I just say, I feel bad for making myself ride this for the first time at 10 years old, because this is one of the most horrifically scary roller coasters in the world. Even these days when I get to the park and ride Tatsu, I cannot believe how frightening it is. Aside from already being very tall, perched up on top of a hill, is a flying coaster rider position. What this means is your vehicle tilts forward so you are riding face down the entire duration of the ride. I've ridden several coasters that do this, and none of them are anywhere near it.
Now, back when I still rode coasters, there were none. There were none like this. I did ride a roller coaster in King's Dominion called the Shockwave, where you stood up and you had a little bicycle seat perch. And that was scary, but it was fun. Well, then a little bit later, we were walking through the park and it had got stuck partially in the loop. And I just remember thinking, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for it not being me.
As bad as Tatsu, because so many of these elements are elevated so high in the air. I mentioned it was perched on top of a hill, so even though the coaster is only about 100 feet tall, you are closer to 200 feet from the bottom of that mountain. It's insane to me how this is only one of 2 roller coasters from this park that make my top 5, and that Tatsu somehow ranks lower than the other one. But we'll get to that later. Number 3 is Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, a ride that you unfortunately can no longer experience. Top Thrill Dragster was a hydraulic launch coaster that operated from 2003 to 2021. The ride's defining moment was its launch from 0 to 120 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds, but it's what happens before that grants it a spot on this list. Your train is just parked in front of this long launch section ahead of this 420-foot top hat, which to this day is the second highest coaster element in the world. You are literally just staring at it. Now, in 2023, the ride will return as Top Thrill 2, and as much as I believe the ride experience will be a downgrade from the original, it should be just as, if not more, intimidating than ever before. I say that because they're building a second 420-foot tower, this time in the form of a spike. Even if you only make it, say, 3/4 of the way to the top, staring down at the ground will still be a pretty crazy experience nonetheless. The good news is you can still experience a ride very similar to the original attraction, and that's King Dakar at Six Flags Great Adventure at the number 2 spot. This literally does...
Okay, before I continue, my brother loved that roller coaster, the Top Thrill Dragster. Like, he's been on it a bunch, and I'm pretty sure right now it's not even open. I think they were going to reconfigure it, and I don't think that, I don't know, you'll have to look. I would tell you I didn't know it was going to be on here, or I would have looked, but I'm pretty sure it's not open.
Does the exact same thing as Top Thrill Dragster, except it's a little bit taller and a little bit faster. That said, when you're on it, you can't really notice a difference, so to me, it's pretty much equal to, or maybe slightly scarier than Dragster was. Aside from the fact that my heart pounds nearly every time I ride this coaster, its launch is perhaps my favorite moment on any roller coaster I've ridden, and I always look forward to riding it. So, what could be number 1? To me, it was a no-brainer, and that's X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this ride, but part of me always wants to wait off to the side because every time I get to the top of that lift hill, I am legitimately terrified. What makes X2 so insane is it's the only traditional 4th dimension roller coaster on this side of the world. This means your seats have the ability to rotate throughout the ride, and it finds the most interesting ways to use this to its advantage and scare you. The part everyone immediately points to is the initial 215-foot drop where riders face straight down to the ground and then flip backwards right as they're about to hit the ground. It is without question the freakiest element on any coaster I've ridden.
Hell no. Like, for me, there's a fine line between, yay, thrilling fun, and oh my god, I'm so scared, I might die. Have any of you rode that? I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are.
But it's not the freakiest element on any coaster in the world. Over in Japan, there's a ride that goes by the name of Ejinaika, and this takes the concept of X2 and makes it even crazier. Not only is there far more flipping, but its drop is also considerably larger.
Wow.
I can only imagine that riding this coaster would be a religious experience, and it's currently my number 1 bucket list coaster I've yet to ride. But maybe there's something I missed. Let me know down in the comments what coasters you've ridden are the scariest. There are so many different reasons to be intimidated by these rides, and you should by no means feel embarrassed. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Coaster Dash. You don't miss any content like
I really enjoyed that video. I love amusement parks and coasters. Like, my favorite game of all time, even though it's old and corny now, is Roller Coaster Tycoon. I've been on many roller coasters, just not for a long time. I'd say out of all of them that I've been on, my scariest one was probably the Steel Phantom, the original Steel Phantom in Kennywood. That terrified me, and they changed it. Now it's Phantom's Revenge or something like that. But so what was the scariest roller coaster you've ever been on? Do you still go on them? Talk to me, let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'd really appreciate a subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video. I know I did. I will put my link to my Twitch in the description. I'm live on there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 6:30 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you want to come and chat to me live, I'm usually playing some kind of video game on my Xbox, so come say hi, and I'm moving on to the next one. Thanks for watching.